Hi, this is Mas from Pass Academy, and today we'll talk about introduction to user experience design, or more or less, let's say UI/UX design. Our agenda is today is quite simple. We'll discuss about some design terms, UX trends, some design tools that are being used in industry for the UI/UX purpose. So let's start with the basic. What is UI and UX? UI stands for user interface and UX stands for user experience. So, as the name suggests, user interface, UI is more about the look and feel of a product, of how beautiful the product looks, how beautiful the interface is. On the contrary, UX is more about the user experience of how meaningful and relevant the experience is to the user. It's about uh, solving problems that the user faces through making the experience smoother. And US design is basically about solving problems through empathy. And empathy is like quite an important word, not only here, but in your daily life as well. So, empathy is simply about stepping into someone's shoes and understanding the problem. So, it's very important to empathize with the end user. By that, I mean, is your end user is the main goal in UX design, and you should be able to step into their shoes to understand the problems that they face in their daily lives of using the specific website or an app. So great products are useful, usable, and beautiful. And let's explore the useful, usable part ahead. So design will start with useful, then focus on usable. And if you are already in a design industry for quite some time, you would have experienced that client always try to stretch you to the beautiful part. But if you're a good designer, you would always stretch them to a useful part because the end product and goal of the product is to make sure that the product is useful, and also it's great to make them look beautiful as well. So first you start with the useful and usable part and then focus on making it beautiful. So beautiful becomes last step, and we'll discuss it further in detail in our next slides. So first, if you focus on beautiful first, and you would end up with something unusable, unuseful. So always put useful part first, and then focus on the beautiful part as last part of your design process. So UX has quite some benefits about enhancing customer experience, increasing customer retention, reducing development time. And so by customer experience, as I discussed earlier, it's all about making sure that a customer is able to easily perform their task that they are supposed to do on an app or product. And it's all about customer retention as well. So if I go to an app that delivers food, I would I would install my app for the first time. I try to order food, and if I'm unable to order the food for some reason, it's very unlikely that I would visit the website or app again to visit the food from the same app. Rather, I would use some other option. So one of the important element of UX design is that it reduces development time. So let's suppose you work with a group of software engineers and developers, and if you have to make changes and iterations into the product, you would have to reprogram the product itself. But with the help of a UI UX design, you can just directly make the changes into the prototypes that you have already created, which we will discuss ahead, and just make sure that you show the iteration process to the client before moving it ahead to the development. And talking about prototypes, let's discuss about the some basic design terms. So wireframe is initial process of design layout. You basically just start with a paper and pencil, and the reason you do that is because it's quite easy to make iterations onto the paper. And you just try to lay out the look and feel of the product onto the paper, and see how the user would navigate from one part of the screen to the another. So after the wireframing part, you start with the mockup, and mockup is quite a midpoint between wireframe and the actual prototype. And this mockup bar basically represents the design in more detail, an illustration of how the product screen will look. And so you just start by laying out some basic details into the product before pushing it ahead for the prototype. And prototype is basically the final model of the product, of how your product will actually look and feel, but also work in the actual environment. This is not actually the functional part of the product. So if I'm designing a prototype for a food delivery app, it would not actually deliver the food once I order it onto the prototype parts, because it's just a prototype. So it will help me. It will allow me to navigate through different processes that I can deliver a food, but not actually delivering a food, because that's the part of the development process. And the goal of UX is basically that you are able to achieve a specific task, and that all can be done through the prototype. And another term is the mood board. Mood board is about all the inspirations that are in your mind, and that you found on the web. So it's also part of the research process before you start designing the prototypes. And design system is basically making everything together, just to make sure that the whole look and feel is consistent around the platform. And big companies like Google and Microsoft have a huge design system in place. And let me show an example of that. So this is the official design system of Android on available on Figma. You can access it directly, and I will also mention the link in description. From here you can have idea of actually everything that exists in the user interface part, not the UX part, since user interface is about the look and feel, and here we are talking about the look and feel of the design system. So it comprises of different button styles, about the different icon buttons of maybe if you are going to use the filled icons, outline icons. It all depends on the design system. And design system is basically everything coming together to make sure that everything looks consistent, and that you can easily use your current design system in designing the actual product itself, and the product look consistent throughout all screens. So the design system was more about the UI part, and usability testing is more of a UX part. So as soon as the first prototype is ready, you can start with the usability test. And the main goal of the usability testing is to get feedback from the real user. So you develop a prototype, you go to the real user, you let them use the product. You can maybe interview them or ask them different sort of questions via the online form or something, just to get an idea of how the user feels about the product, or whether, and notice whether he or she is able to perform the task that you are designing to do. And this is quite important to discuss, that UX nowadays is becoming more focused on user interface design, visual design, prototyping, where you are keeping out the important elements of the UX, which are user research, interaction design, usability testing, etc. What UX actually is about everything coming together. It's also about the user interface design, visual design, as well as user research, usability, user testing, each and everything that's part of the design. So all these things comprises the UI and UX part, and along with the user interface, beautiful visual design, you cannot accomplish the UX part. And so there are different design tools that are used by the designers to create prototypes and designs. One of them is Sketch, Figma, Adobe XD. What I use personally, and one of the industry leading platform is Figma. So these slides are also created on Figma, for example, and you cannot just create prototypes. You can design anything on the Figma itself. So I will also mention the link in description to the platform. You can use it directly on your Mac OS or Windows. And I have also put together some resources. It comprises of blogs about the UI UX, some YouTube channels, and then group is top of them. If you really want to learn about the core of the UI UX design, I would definitely recommend NN Group YouTube channel. And there are also communities on Dribble, Behance. You can also look for inspiration, for example, about creating the mood boards if you are starting your design process. And thank you. That's all from my side. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment below, and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Thank you.